Hi, church. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Welcome to our Sabbath Sunday here at Branches. I want to start off by saying thank you to all the people that made Thanksgiving such a success. Nearly every single person from our church contributed in some way to this past Thanksgiving. So thank you so much for all the work that you did. All of you deserve a day of rest, which is what today is all about. A day of rest. And rest is something that we don't always do very well in the church. We assume that we should work for God nonstop. And we should work for God, that is true, but not necessarily nonstop. In fact, the rhythm of work and rest is built into the fabric of creation. Remember, God created the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day, he rested. Human beings, every night we lay in bed, we go to sleep, and we rest. The Israelites were commanded to 1 out of 7 days rest. That is why we here at Branches, every once in a while, take a Sabbath Sunday. It's a day where we all get to stay home with family and friends and we rest. I hope that today is a blessing to you and it gives you the space to worship God, to rest, to eat some delicious food, and I'll see you back in the church building next Sunday at 11 a.m. Enjoy these songs, enjoy the message. Have a wonderful Sabbath Sunday.
Poderoso, invencible, admirable, grande, fuerte Dios, Rey de reyes, asombroso, incomparable. Eres increíble, todopoderoso, grande, eres increíble. Venciste las tinieblas, Cristo exaltado estás. Oh, 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 oh. You are mighty, never ending. You are holy, you are powerful, King of all kings, incomparable. You are wonderful, you are so amazing. God, you're almighty, stronger, you are so amazing. Darkness you defeated, Jesus, you are so amazing. God, you're almighty, stronger, you are so amazing. Darkness you defeated, Jesus, we lift you high. Whoa, 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 eres increíble. Mi Dios, solo tú, tú eres increíble. Dios, solo tú, tú eres increíble, invencible. Mi 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 Dios, solo tú, solo tú. Solo tú. Eres increíble, todopoderoso, grande, eres increíble. Venciste las tinieblas, Cristo, eres increíble. Todopoderoso, grande, eres increíble. Venciste las tinieblas, Cristo exaltado está. solo tú eres increíble, invencible. Mi Dios, solo tú eres increíble, invencible. Mi Dios, solo tú.
The story that I'd like to share with you today comes from Matthew chapter 25. It's a parable of the kingdom of God from Jesus. And it's connected to what we've begun to talk about at Branches, our purpose. And in some ways, it's a cautionary tale of what happens when we do not use our gifts and skills to live into our purpose. It's a warning for us. Let's jump right in. Matthew chapter 25, starting in verse 14. Again, this is Jesus speaking, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. So that it in that verse is the kingdom of God. He's explaining how the kingdom of God works. To one, he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he, so that's like God, went off on his journey. It looks like this. The first servant received 5 bags of gold, or, boom, in this instance, a huge can of spaghetti sauce. The second person receives a little bit less, a smaller but still healthy can of crushed tomatoes with basil. And the last servant, this last poor servant, he receives just 1 small can of tomato paste. Now, when I used to read this story, I'd really get hung up on the fact that each servant receives a different amount. Just like in life, all of us receive different amounts of gifts and skills. And I would always look at other people and think, why don't I have more gifts? Why am I not a world-class leader or athlete or movie star? Or why can't I at least just have a head of hair? You know, what's the deal? But the great news that we'll find out is it's not so much about how much you've been given, but what you do with it that counts. It's not about how much you receive from the Lord, but what you do with what you receive. That's what really matters. And so sure enough, the first guy takes his 5 bags of gold and he immediately puts them to work. He invests and he gets a return on his investment. So he gets 2 giant cans of, again, spaghetti sauce. The second guy does the same thing. He ends up getting a smaller can, but still a healthy can of crushed tomatoes with basil. The third guy, though, he does something a little different. He takes his small amount of gifts and he's scared of losing it. And he takes it and buries it someplace because he simply wants to return it to the master. After a time, the master returns from his trip. And listen to what he says. To the first person, the first servant who doubled his money, invested his gifts, he receives this commendation. Verse 21, the master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." The same thing happens with the second guy. Even though the second guy has a little less gifts to begin with, and therefore has less at the end, he still receives the same commendation. Again, it's not how many gifts we receive, but what we do with them that counts. He also receives that same exact statement. Well done, good and faithful servant. But the last guy, he appears before the master and he hands back to the master the same gift that he was given at the beginning. Listen to the warning that is given to this guy. Verse 24, then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. "Master," he said, "I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid," that's a key word, listen to that, "and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you." Verse 26, his master replied, "You wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him and give it to the one who has the 10 bags. For whoever has will be given more and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. and throw that worthless servant outside. Ooh, this is a harsh warning. Into the darkness where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. I can understand calling the servant lazy. I mean, he doesn't do anything. But wicked, why does Jesus use the word wicked there? He uses the word wicked because in another story in Matthew chapter 12, Jesus says, you're either for me or you're against me. So if we are not working for God, with God, then that means we're working against God, which means that if we're not doing anything, we're working against God. And here we learn this important principle that doing nothing is wicked. Ooh, let that sink in for a moment. Doing nothing is wicked. It is not good enough just to sit back, even in the church, and do nothing with your life. It's not allowed. Jesus says it's wicked. And let's think for a moment, why is it that that servant doesn't do anything? He says right there in verse 25 that I was afraid. What's the servant so afraid of? Maybe he's afraid of losing his money, right? Maybe he's afraid of making a fool of himself. Maybe he's just scared and he doesn't want to try something new. Whatever it is, it's not a good enough excuse. He is expected to use his gifts, use what he's been given for the kingdom of God and for God's glory. And he doesn't do it. And he's called wicked and lazy. My friends, it is not good enough for us not to do anything. We are called as a church, as followers of Jesus, to use our gifts, to use our natural abilities to make a difference in the world. Jesus entrusts us with these gifts and he expects us to give him a return on his investment. So my hope is that all of us are able to live into our purpose and use our gifts and our skills and our abilities to impact the world. We are called not to be a church of passive consumers, but of selfless servants, people who contribute to the kingdom of God. And so what I want you to do is to begin praying, even in this holiday season, the season of Advent, to begin praying for God to reveal to you your purpose and what he's calling you to do with the gifts and skills that he's entrusted to you. So begin praying that right now and enjoy this final song together. I'll see you next Sunday.
We are a chosen generation, called forth to show his excellence. All I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. We are a chosen generation, called forth to show his excellence. All I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. I know who God says I am, what he says I am, where he says I'm at. I know who I am, I know who God says I am, what he says I am, where he says I'm at. I know who I am. I'm working in power, I'm working miracles. I live a life of favor, 'cause I know who I am. I'm working in power, I'm working miracles. I live a life of favor, 'cause I know who I am. Oh, 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 and I know who I am. Oh, 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 and I know who I am. We are a chosen generation, called forth to show his excellence. All I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. We are a chosen generation, called forth to show his excellence. All I require for life, God has given me, and I know who I am. I know who God says I am, what he says I am, where he says I'm at. I know who I am, I know who God says I am, What he says I am, where he says I'm at. I know who I am. I'm working in power, I'm working miracles. I live a life of favor, 'cause I know who I am. I'm working in power, I'm working miracles. I live a life of favor, 'cause I know who I am. Oh.